Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 38, Ryan Lawrence, a discussion about work-life balance and dealing with stress. Before we dig into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a thumbs up. That really helps us reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that can benefit. Today I'm joined again by Ryan Lawrence. We're going to discuss the topic of life-work balance and dealing with the day-to-day stresses of running a business. I think it's something that affects all of us, and we can all benefit from hearing how others handle it in their unique situations and in their unique ways. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. We are here today with Ryan Lawrence. He's a good friend of mine. We've known each other for years as developers. We've worked on projects together on numerous occasions and probably will continue to. I'm going to just hand it over to you, Ryan, real quick, if you want to take a minute and introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Happy to be here. As Matt said, my name is Ryan Lawrence. I'm a freelance web developer. Have been working as a freelancer for, I guess, about 15 years now.
Old timer.
Is that right? Yes, about 15 years. Yes, I guess it has been a while. I specialize in working with WordPress, especially custom functionality, plugins, themes, basically anything you might want to do with a WordPress-based website. I can help out with that.
Cool. Yeah, if you want to learn more about Ryan too, this is our second episode. The first one we did a dual episode with Ryan and Danielle. I don't remember what number it was, but you can look back at our catalog of episodes, and he tells a little bit more about his story, I think, in that one, and maybe, I don't know, I don't remember, that was so long ago. Months.
Yeah, I also, I don't have too much recollection of that, but hopefully it was something interesting.
It might have been good. You might want to check it out. No, that's awesome. So, what are you working on today? I'm going to tell you what I'm working on today.
Okay. I'm recording for an exciting podcast about business and web development and building things, as you know. Other than that, I just had a site-wide update of just various plugins, WordPress core, things that were quite a bit out of date that we just deployed those onto the production server this morning for one of my clients, and fortunately everything went pretty smoothly.
All right.
So nothing too much to worry about there in the long run, but that's been the big thing that's been consuming my time this morning. So.
Cool. Yeah. We're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about work-life balance today. That's the main topic we chose, and a little bit about managing stress, maybe stressful projects or clients or whatever. We'll get into that too. Yeah, my day was, tell you a little bit about my day. I got up early today because my wife was freaking out. She gets up way earlier than me. She gets up at like 5:30. I'm not up usually until 7:30ish. I'm a late riser. But she got me up a couple times this morning. One of the times was she couldn't find her house keys, and turns out she left them in her car. And so that was a whole thing. And I got back to sleep, did a little snoozing, but I got up early because then I started thinking about work, and I had a design I have to deliver today, and an actual web design. And so I'm like, I'll get a head start. Get up, put some hours in before I hang out with Ryan. And of course, a fire occurred with one of my other clients. Oh my gosh. It was a minor fire, sort of, it was something we delivered like earlier in the week, and they just tested it now. And so I was working. So I had this design project I'm working on now, and then I have this minor little fire over here, and I have a developer helping me with it. So I was basically getting stuff from the client and relaying that to the dev and vice versa, and trying to solve it. Turned out it was actually not us. It was a server issue, so they have to talk to their web host. But we had to troubleshoot it. And then I'm talking with my VA, we're doing a little marketing. We touch base on that, do some content stuff. So it was kind of, that exciting day. But that's the main thing I'm doing today. I'm actually still made some good progress in the design. Hopefully we'll deliver that this afternoon. Then I'm off to do other things. WordPress, setting up a staging for somebody, crazy life of a web developer, designer, agency owner. So cool. Yeah, I thought it would be fun.
A lot of hats.
Yeah. So let's get into the topic a little bit. Let's talk about one of the reasons I kind of thought of this topic too for you was I noticed you do go on vacation. You take time off. Recently you were in the mountains or something. Was it Vermont? Where is it? Mountains of somewhere.
Western Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yes, my girlfriend is from.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's from North Adams, Massachusetts. Very beautiful, especially this season. So did spend some time up in the mountain air there. It
Very
was
nice.
Yeah. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning, but I live in southern New Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia, so we don't have much in the way of mountains here. So it's good to have that change of scenery.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice thing too. You get out in nature and you have time to decompress and not think about work, and maybe you didn't even have internet out there, but who knows? But
might as well not have had internet with the quality of the connection that I had there. Yes.
No, that's actually awesome, and I actually need to do more stuff like that myself. That's what we'll talk about. But I mean, one of the things, kind of, how do you? You're obviously busy. You have clients, you have projects. You've been doing this for a long time. Do you think about that work-life balance, making sure that you have that time off, whether it's taking the vacation time or making sure you only work so many days a week, that type of thing? Is that something that's kind of critical to your mission?
Yeah, I do try to keep it in mind, and that's something that I've really noticed I've had to be more conscious of, as I've progressed through the years and gotten more experience, because, I think that when you have a job like the job that we do, we often have home offices, or, we might work at, for example, like the local coffee shop, sometimes the local co-working space, but we don't have that typical, like, go to an office, sit in the office for 8-9 hours a day and come home sort of arrangement. And so, obviously a lot of people recently have come toward that arrangement as well, but we were sort of like, we were doing it for several years before that. Yeah, you might say that. Yeah. So I think in that sense, like, we were uniquely positioned to meet the moment of the last, year and a half ish. But I think having done it for so long, you do, at first the flexibility seems very nice. It's like, I don't need to start work at this particular hour. I don't need to be at a particular place, at this certain time. But I think that it can also be challenging in the sense that you have no barrier necessarily between your work life and your home life. Often they are in the same place, and even if they're not, it's like, that nobody's stopping you, say, from, even if you hunker down at the co-working space, nobody's stopping you from, going home and watching cartoons or whatever. So,
well, I think this is actually something a lot of people are going to find out. They probably are in early stages of working at home, mm-hmm. and it hasn't really sunk in yet that they're now melded together. We're going to have to be more conscientious about taking that time off or separating the two somehow.
I think that's a very good point, because I do think that the first year or two was sort of the, I don't know if I want to call it a honeymoon period for me with the working at home, but it was the time when I was just kind of focusing on those positives. And it was maybe a bit later that I started realizing, like, this is not necessarily the most productive way to do things, because I can easily get distracted and, mm-hmm. do something else, waste the whole day, end up working until midnight, or later in a lot of cases. So, so I do think that it is important to sort of be conscious of work time versus leisure time, or at least, off the clock sort of time. And for me, it's something that I don't necessarily keep a really tight schedule where I say, okay, I'm going to start work at this particular time, and not a minute later or a minute earlier. I don't necessarily get that rigid about it. But what I try to do with that I've found helpful is I try to be very aware of the time that I'm working and try to balance that, with leisure time or vice versa. So, if I'm working on something, and it takes, most of the day, I'll go and try to take some time off from there. If I end up working, for example, like something, there's a project, there's a deadline I have to do, and I end up having to put in some hours over the weekend on a Saturday or Sunday. What I try to do is sort of try to balance that in the following week if I'm able to. And if it's a bit of a lighter week, I will say, okay, well, since I went in and worked for, 6 hours this Saturday, maybe I'll go and I'll, for example, take the day off, go to a park or something, for one of the mornings of the following week, and try to, at least, like, even if I don't have that, really well defined time off, I can, make up for it later with the flexibility of my schedule.
No, it's funny. It's like you're me. Like, it's almost, as you were saying that, like, it's like exactly how I think about it. Like, I almost think about it like, especially in our kind of business where things aren't more rigid in terms of when things happen, and things can happen anytime, or projects can be larger, or you're behind and you got to need catch up time, or you release something. And like this last weekend, I did a simple release over the weekend, and bugs that I didn't even know existed suddenly appeared with the client. And as I was pretty sure that this had nothing to do with the bugs. I think there were bugs that were there earlier, and they were just testing, and they found these new ones. But regardless, but that's exactly how I kind of almost like a flex schedule. Like, if I always put in some hours on the weekend. I always say that I just work less on the weekends, but I do different things, which is kind of also part of this too, is that if you're doing a variety of things, sometimes it's not as bad. If you did coding every day, 7 days a week, you would burn out, probably. Some people might not be.
Yeah.
But same thing. Like, if I listen to my body, like, I know when I'm starting to get a little burnt out, or I'm a little, like, after this past weekend, I did have to put in extra hours that next day, working with my developers to fix some bugs, and working with the client, and dealing with that stress around that, which all turned out fine. But after that, all of a sudden, you've probably experienced this, like, this fire's going on, and then all of a sudden everything's squashed, and emails have stopped, and you kind of take a step back. I need a few hours. Yeah, I need a few hours. It's Tuesday, but I need a few hours this afternoon. I'm going to go relax, do my thing, play some games or whatever. So, exactly the same.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. It is important to listen to your body, listen to your brain when it's telling you, like, I'm overloading right now, or if you've been staring at a screen and your eyes are feeling strained, it's probably a sign that you need to step away and look at something besides the screen for a while, for example. And so I do think that's a very important part of it. And one of the nice things about the flexibility that our, sorts of professions offer us is that we do have the option of, say, taking an hour and going for a leisurely walk, or even going to the store to run errands or something. Just something that changes your scenery, you get out a little bit, just kind of clear your mind, change your mindset for a little while, and then you can come back and hopefully feel a bit more refreshed. So I think just reminding yourself to utilize that flexibility when you can, I think is important.
Yeah. Do you do, okay, so that's kind of the larger weekly, balance of time. Do you also, what is it called? There's a name for it. Where you work for 25 minutes and you take a break. What is that called?
Oh, the Pomodoro Technique, I believe it is.
Yep. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. I actually have tried that throughout the years, on and off. Now, I'm not really a devotee to it or anything. I haven't currently used it for a little while, I don't think. But what I like to do with that is, when I find that I'm having trouble concentrating, I do feel that helps ground me a bit. And it's just like, okay, just focus your attention for this set amount of time, then you get a little mini break, and then do it again, and rinse and repeat, basically.
So for anyone,
I do find it.
Yeah, for anyone listening that doesn't know what Pomodoro is, or Doro, whatever. I also don't. I've tried it a few times, and I use similar things, or not doing it consciously. I think I take regular breaks, just in general. But it's just basically you work for an X period of time. And I think they set it like 25 minutes, and then you take like a 5-minute or 10-minute break or something, and then you do another 25, and it's supposed to make you more productive and not get burned out as easily, and be able to actually get more done over a few hour period. So yeah, for me, it's like, I think this is my timer right here. See this right here. So when the coffee gets cold, I'm gonna walk downstairs and warm up the coffee, and or when the dog, I have to check on the dog once in a while. I think those things also are kind of built in to this kind of natural kind of braking system for me. Anyway.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. And it's true that pets. We have 4 cats, so definitely sometimes pets will sort of schedule a break for you that you didn't necessarily intend to schedule, but sometimes something happens that needs to be addressed immediately.
Yeah.
A fight that you need to break up or something, at least in our house. But,
I suppose that could happen with 4 cats. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So that can keep you fresh. It's not always at the most opportune moment, but that sort of helps you step away as well.
Other thing too now, I've been doing this as long as you, not longer, working at home. And one of the other things that I've sort of settled into this daily schedule as well, where there's a certain time of the day I stop work and I eat breakfast. I eat breakfast late. I have a weird schedule that way. I eat breakfast at like 11 in the morning. And so from between 11 and 12, I'm taking a break. I might do a few dishes or something, or play with my dog. I play with her for about 10, 15 minutes and run her a little bit, burn off some of that energy. I do the same thing around 3 for lunch, and we eat at like 8 o'clock at night. So it's a weird schedule that we have. But that's kind of also, I kind of have those built-in half-hour to 45-minute breaks, probably on average, a couple times during a day as well. So that really helps a lot. It's important.
Yeah, and I think that's again, it's one of the nice things about the flexibility is like, you might have an unusual working schedule, an unusual working arrangement. For a while, I really wasn't doing much work between like 11 a.m., 1 p.m., which is like prime, working time for
Right.
for a lot of folks. But I would go off and as I said, maybe get some errands done that needed doing, or do some chores around the house, little things. But but I did have the routine of once it got to be 1 o'clock ish, I'd come back in and really hunker down and make sure I had a productive afternoon. So it might be unorthodox some of the ways we do work, but you just have to kind of I guess accept what works well for you, even if it seems like not the quote unquote correct way of doing things, or the traditional way, and just figure out an efficient process for yourself, however that might look.
Well, right, and it all balances out. Like for me too, though, is yes, I take that, but I also work later, so I start my day 8:30,
exactly.
And now I'm still doing some dev stuff sometimes 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then I might even dive back in at 9:30, 10 at night because I have a team and I want to get some things ready for them to work on the next day. And then weekends. So it kind of all balances out. Yeah. So I feel like because I work those extra hours, I could take those extra hours during the day, or the extra time during the day, take a little extra break, and usually just watching some YouTube or something and kind of get my mind out of it for a minute. But that's
good.
YouTube
is great for that.
Yeah.
And I do think, as far as working on weekends and things like that go, I think if you're too strict with yourself about not allowing that can sometimes backfire, because honestly, like sometimes when you're working, when a lot of your clients might not be working, that can be one of the best times to get work done, because you don't have new emails coming in, you don't have
Right.
emergencies happening necessarily, and so it can actually be a very productive time.
Yeah, I think most of my clients think I don't, or they don't bother me on the weekends. I think they respect that time. But for me, it's not. It's less. I always think I could get client work done on the weekends, but usually the weekends are time for me to do my accounting, business related stuff, work on a personal project, or things like that too. I may squeeze in some work for a client, like I did a launch, release this last weekend. But so it's interesting. I think for me, it was never. I think some people are conditioned to not want to work those weekends, and whether that's something in their life or their past. For me, I was a bartender for years. I was in the restaurant hospitality business for years, and you work weekends. It was always for literally through my late teens, all through my 20s, and that was what I did. And so for me to work weekends, it's not odd. It's just a natural thing. Even when I was in insurance business, we'd work Saturday mornings always from like 9 to 12. So it was always, we wanted to be there for clients on Saturday mornings. But yeah,
fair enough.
So cool. Yeah. So we got the kind of the macro of making sure you have a flexible time either during the week or take that extra time out, a semi macro, and then the daily stuff. Now I watched a YouTube, speaking of YouTube, I watched a YouTube video the other day. For whatever reason, I'm burnout. I don't really usually feel like I'm in burnout mode, maybe here and there, but it's a really interesting, I should put a link in the show notes to this video. It was actually a room of gamers. They had a panel, and they were talking to this room full of game developers. Apparently they're stressed out. They burn out.
Go figure.
But it was really interesting. It got me thinking about a lot of things you can do to help prevent burnout, and it making me think a little bit about I feel like I work too much, but at the same time I don't feel totally burned out much. But one of the things that I think they said during this video, this conference, whatever it was that you should, and maybe it was more geared towards employees and stuff, but like making sure, like enforcing time off. Because if you like give people the freedom to have time off, they might not take it off, or they might save it, or they might whatever. But having those kind of forced times to get away, like go to the mountains or whatever you do. For us here, it would be going to Door County. It's like a kind of it's not really mountains, just to get away here. Or, there's things to do in Wisconsin. So as for you, is that something you've kind of structured into your life? Would you regularly try to get in X number of times away during the year, or do you force yourself to do that? Or is this something that you actually enjoy doing so much you're thinking about the next time you're going to get off, and you have to do it?
Well, I think that sometimes it happens organically. For example, when I went up to the mountains of Western Massachusetts most recently, there were some family events on my girlfriend's side that she wanted to come up and attend. So it sort of synced up well with that, and I thought that would be a good opportunity to
get away,
relax and spend some time away for a while. Exactly. Yeah. So that was just fortuitous in that sense, I think. But I'd say, in previous years, I did try to, it wasn't necessarily a commitment, but I would do what I could to at least take one trip per year somewhere, either somewhere new or just somewhere interesting or relaxing that I enjoyed, and either take that entire time off and just try not to do, if possible, any work during that time, or something that has worked pretty well for me. Once I figured out how to sort of optimize it, was doing sort of working vacations where I might go somewhere but still, still work, if not at my usual capacity, at least like some scaled down percentage of the time, and still being able to keep up with projects that are ongoing, to make sure I don't get too buried in catch up work when I come back. And so I think that can be, as long as you plan it well, I think that can be, that can be a nice way to sort of clear your head and get some relaxing done at the same time that you're not necessarily like fully off the clock.
Yeah.
And it's it probably took me 4 or 5 trips, if not more, to figure out a good way to balance that. But some of the things I learned were just that it's always very important to make sure you go somewhere with reliable internet if you're going to do that. I have been stuck in some places in rural parts of other countries, for example, that just barely had a cell connection, trying to get some dev work done on a deadline. That was a bit stressful. So I always try to scope out the internet connection of a place where I'm going to be traveling to.
Hopefully Elon Musk solves that for us. He's putting all those satellites up.
Yeah, exactly. Once the satellites are up, this is going to be a moot point. So maybe this will just be an of its time problem. But but for the moment, I do think that
that's important.
It's important to do that, and also take into consideration possible differing time zones if you're traveling really far away. I've done several trips over to Japan, and that can be a little bit challenging because when it's day here, it's night there, and vice versa. So, trying to make sure you can stay on top of things in terms of like responding to items quickly, that can be a bit of a challenge to work out. But set expectations with your client if necessary, if you're going to do something like that, and just try to make sure you work it as smoothly as possible. So I do think that those things can help, and just get that change of scenery while you're still getting some work done.
Yeah, so you just kind of take maybe a few hours during the day, or in the evening. Maybe you're out at the pool during the day, and in the evening you get a few hours in or something.
And that's the other thing. Like if you go to the trouble of traveling somewhere, you probably want to see the place that you're traveling to a little bit. Right. You don't want to be stuck like in your in your room that you rented, or at the local Starbucks or something. Doing several hours of work. So it is nice to try to maybe flip your schedule a little bit, so you're doing stuff at the at where you can actually see and experience some things locally, and then maybe get some work done in a downtime moment.
I think it's great. It's like a hybrid approach. Like you can still get away, get out of your house, get out of your office, whatever, and kind of change of scenery, get some fresh air, go somewhere, with whatever. But I think that's got to do something for you mentally to kind of help you relax a little bit, and even if it's a smaller dose, but maybe that would actually help to mix that in. That's interesting, because you can have those vacations where you're off the grid for a few days or a week, but to also mix those in as well. I think that's really good. I feel that could be good. Maybe I can talk the wife into that. Or get it like an RV or something. I always talk about getting an RV with my wife. She's totally anti-RV. So I just want to travel around, find internet connections, and for like a month or something. Yeah, maybe I'll talk.
I think it sounds like a pretty. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully you can make her come around on that. That's
well, she's not. She's not a big camper or like outdoors person. So she wants to make sure there's showers everywhere we go, and all those things. She's a city girl, so.
Oh, that's fair. I'm a bit of a city guy myself, so I guess I can understand that. I don't rough it too much, even when I'm doing all this traveling. I do like to have a warm shower, at the beginning or end of the day if possible.
Right.
But as far as traveling goes, it's not something that I would say, you must do this, because it's something where, that's not always an option for everyone. So you have to make sure it's it might be something where you just have to make sure, your budget at the moment can allow that, because traveling can, even if you do it on the cheap,
Right.
it can get quite expensive.
Yeah.
Or even, outside of expenses, you might have family or, pet obligations or
Hmm.
that sort of
Oh
thing
yeah.
that can prevent it.
Oh,
But I think
that's
it's something
challenging.
that, try to, yeah, exactly. And it's just, if you can find a good opportunity for it, though, I think it's a nice thing to consider.
Well, like I said, I mean, like everyone's different. Everyone's in a different situation. You're a different part of your business. Like right now, I have to work more than probably I will, hopefully, in a couple of years. I'm hoping that changes over time. And also, like you said, the pet thing. Pets real challenging for us. We love pets,
Mhm.
but we have to now find somebody to babysit our pets while we're gone, and we can't just pick up and go. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
things to consider. Everyone's, like I said, a little different, but I think the main thing is to find that kind of balance and again, listen to your body, your mind. And if you're starting to feel drained, starting to feel kind of worn out, and your mood is changing, maybe it's time to step away for an hour, or maybe you need a weekend away or something. But yeah, always, because it's like you want to get the work done, you want to take care of your clients, you want to build your business and all that stuff, of course, but you also got to take care of your shrine, or whatever you want to call it. So
Exactly.
let's kind of segue a little bit into just dealing with the stresses. I mean, that come along with it. That kind of alleviates it a little, making sure you have that time away. But like this morning with me, and like balancing all those things, and a lot of times it's out of the blue. You weren't prepared for it, and it came and hit you. And even though you're doing something you're passionate about, this is your business, this is what you want to do with your career or whatever, things happen to you that are unexpected and they're going to cause stress on some level. And everyone deals with stress differently. But in my business, I know stress is just part of it. And I don't think about it as stress as much. I don't get I maybe get a couple knots in my neck or something, a little stress ball in my neck. But for the most part, I think I deal with it pretty well. You almost have to, running an agency. But, and then, you got stakeholders, the people that are involved with a project or something, they pile their stress on you because now they're freaking out about something. And you're like, well, it's just a little bug. We'll handle it. But for them, it's much bigger because they don't understand what's going on. Is there anything, any advice you have around that, or anything that you do to manage workloads, clients, requests, and all that stuff all hitting you all at once, or trying to balance all that besides taking time off?
Yeah, well, well, that certainly helps. Just stepping away from it when if it's possible. And I do absolutely think, like, even if this is the career you've always wanted, I think really any career, no matter what that might be, will have those moments of pretty heavy stress in a lot of situations. So for me, I think that when it comes to balancing a lot of, for example, like a lot of urgent requests coming in, all at once. This may or may not work for all people, but several years back, I actually tried out meditation for a bit, and I'm a very practical person. It's not something that I would have thought would have worked for me. I'm not like a new agey type at all or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I downloaded there's the app Headspace, and they just have these little
Headspace.
mini meditations almost.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of them are like 5 minutes or even shorter, just like tiny little things. There's several other apps out there now that doing it. Some are free, some are you pay a monthly fee or something. But basically, they have these guided meditations that kind of teach you the concept and how it works. And I actually did it for it's sort of funny that they've gamified it to this extent, but they actually have an achievement where you can get a badge or something if you meditate for,
of course,
an entire year. So I tried that. Every day for a year, I made sure to spend at least a few minutes in the app and doing that.
Did you get the badge?
So I got the badge. I think there was a little cake or something that popped up on the on the screen.
Awesome.
So
good job.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I don't do it. I don't do it as regularly anymore. But what's really stuck with me is just sort of the it teaches you sort of just like sitting with your breath for a minute, and like just even those breathing exercises can be really useful. Just making sure to take the time to take those slow, deep breaths in and out, and just kind of sit with it. Sometimes, it can even just be like a really micro thing where if you're feeling really stressed by the moment, you can sort of just like, look away from the screen, close your eyes for a bit, and just take maybe like 5 deep breaths in and out. And it sounds so simple, but like I think often it's easy to forget to do that and just spend that little bit of time, just inhaling, exhaling. So
Yeah,
I find that really helps bring the stress level down.
Yeah, I mean I have done meditation myself, off and on, and I kind of go in phases. Like I'll do it for a while and then I'll just completely forget about it. Like I'm in that forget about it stage at the moment, but I need to revisit it from time to time. But I use there's a couple other apps. There's Calm and there's a couple I've tried too, where they have those simple meditations, or it's just a matter of just throwing on YouTube. There's some good, mellow music. They have for like hours. They'll just play this like mellow music, and I would do it for like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes longer. And it is helpful. It is definitely helpful if you're having a really stressful day or a lot of things are going on, to kind of relax the body. And some of the meditations will take you through those layers of just relaxing your head and your eyes and your shoulders, everything. Take you through that.
Shoulders are a big one.
Yeah. Because even during this, I was like, I need to relax a little bit more.
It's sitting in a chair all day. It's important to make sure your shoulders are relaxed, and that's probably another thing. Is just like investing in a good office chair might be just, or some kind of good back and shoulder support. I think is helpful as well, just to make sure you're not feeling that physical effect of the pain.
Yeah, so I don't have this because I'm fancy. I have this because I had neck surgery like 10 years ago. And I have screws and titanium stuff going on in some of my neck here. So I do have to, for me, I have to make sure my posture is decent, although it's not always. Like right now I got my legs crossed. So, but that's something that I have to do. I have to make sure that once in a while I move back, or I get up once in a while and move around. But yeah, that's important too, because that stress can kind of build up just in the body, just the way you sit and that posture and stuff. And that can cause headaches, or it can cause, headaches are terrible. I know a lot of people, that's something like my wife, she suffers from headaches, periodically, and she takes medication for it. And that's not fun, especially if you get a job like ours where we're looking at a screen all day.
Oh yeah.
That
would not help.
Yeah, no. So those are all good things. Yeah, I think the, kind of end with this, but I think like anything, like dealing with stress kind of takes practice. And it takes, like when I had that stuff happen this morning, or I had that stuff happen the weekend, I actually think meditation has helped me a lot, because clearing your mind and not letting, a lot of it's emotional. And if you can start to kind of control your emotions more, like for me, when I try to breathe, or I try to just clear my mind. I try not to let the emotions get to me and just focus on the task. So when that happened this morning, I'm all set to work on my design, and suddenly I've got a fire. Like, okay, this is happening. I'm just going to contact my dev and relay that message. He's going to handle it. Go back to my design. Okay, he figured out what it was. And I just kind of try to just, of course, the client's like, now I have this. Now, it's like they're a little, you could tell they're a little bit, but I think if you're calm too, it can calm down the client or the customer, whoever you're working with too. I think you kind of set the tone on things. So if you can be calm and you can talk calm and you don't freak out with the client and be like, oh, just, either on a call or in an email, try not to like add to the problem, and just calmly say, okay, we're going to look into that. That's all I said this morning. I said, We'll take a look at that. We'll troubleshoot that for you. That's all I said. Didn't say anything else. Just kept it real simple because I know now they're a little uptight, and we just need to keep things chill and make it solve the problem for them. So I think it's all, like I said, it's meditation. It's just making. And now that we talk about meditation, I'm like, I think that has helped me over the years. Even not doing it in between, I think it still teaches you how to be calm in a
exactly.
stressful
Yeah,
situation.
I think it does sort of just affect your mindset a little bit. And yeah, I think what you said is a great point. And it's definitely true that things are not always going to go exactly according to plan. In fact, they almost never will go exactly according to plan. And so it's just learning how to, and it is a learning process. It's never going to be perfect, but just like trying to, accept that and just say, like you said, this is happening. This is how things are right now, and just have to roll with it. I think that's an important lesson to teach yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if people have a misconception that if you do something you love and you're passionate about, that there's no stress involved. That can come with the territory no matter what. So learning how to deal with it's a good thing. So great. Well, great convo. That's exciting. I was excited to have you come back and want to come back. I mean, I'm always excited to see that somebody actually wants to come back to my podcast and talk to me. So we must be doing something right. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Pleasure to be here. Happy to come back anytime and have another talk.
Yeah, we'll do it again for sure. All right. You take care, Ryan. Until next time.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Bye-bye. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this podcast or provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, Unified Web Design. That's my agency. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.